Well, good morning, Philly. How's everyone doing this day? Excellent. I'm Abby Lindenberg. I'm the founder and CEO of CAA. Thank you very much for being here today. I flew in from Miami yesterday, and I shivered myself off the plane. I am not used to this weather, but I get here and I'm talking with our lovely AV team, and they say to me, "Oh, this is warm." And listen, I get it. You guys have had a really, really harsh winter. And I did to bring my Florida warmth up, but we've also had quite a cold winter, if you can believe it. I turned my heater on a number of times, which is totally not normal and super fun, but I'm not comparing whatsoever. I grew up here in Jersey, so I'm watching all of my family with the snow and the ice, and you had it far worse. You win. But you would think I would have some kind of muscle memory or something like this. But anyway, but Philly was my city before Miami was my city. And I have these wonderful memories of going to the Vet. Does anyone remember the Vet? Yeah. Went to a lot of sporting games there, went to a lot of concerts there. Used to tailgate there before tailgating was fancy or organized. I also did the Broad Street Run. Has anyone done the Broad Street Run? Yep. I am not a runner, not doing that again, but did that for my mom's 60th. That was super fun. Admittedly, I am a go sports kind of gal. But last weekend, I went to a Super Bowl party and I wore the only sporting t-shirt I have, which is an Eagle shirt. So go Birds. But yeah, and we will get them next year. We will go to the Super Bowl next year. Yes. But truly, Philly is a city that didn't shape my weekends. It shaped who I was, who I am. And if you grew up in this area, you know exactly what that means. Philly teaches you grit. Philly teaches you resilience. Philly teaches you that nothing is handed to you. You got to earn it. And it also teaches you that when you're wrong, people are going to tell you, and pretty loudly, but they're also going to help you 2 minutes later, which is probably why when I host events like these in this area, I always invite my family along. I have my dad here. I have my brother-in-law here. I have my sister here. Let's give it up for family. Because we know that when we build something, we build it together. And so standing in this room is deeply meaningful to me. And when I look out across at all of you leaders, I don't see titles, I don't see companies, I see relationships, I see builders. I see people who believe, like me, that relationships are best built together, that businesses are best built in person. 10 years marked last year marked a huge milestone for me in the company. 10 years of CAA. And that milestone matters not because of the number, but because of the why we do the work we do. At CAA, we just don't report on the economics of the region. We also report on the humans behind it, because we know those two things are inseparable. Markets don't move in spreadsheets alone. Markets move because people move them. Leaders take risks. They hire teams. They build businesses, and they invest in their communities. And that's why at CAA, we are relentless with our work. For every annual report, we spend months doing our research. We interviewed hundreds of business leaders, from small companies to large companies, private companies to public companies, solo entrepreneurs, Fortune 500 companies, municipalities, and everything in between. Why? Because insight only works when it reflects all sides of the investment community. And it tells the story about real people doing real business in real communities. And we know from our research that it's never one company or one person that moves the needle. It is always the entire community. And that same belief, that depth, that credibility, that people matter is how CAA was built. And what most people don't know is that I built CAA and I did so without investors. No outside capital, no safety net, just my Philly grit and an unshakable belief that there was a better way to connect business leaders, to tell economic stories, and to bring the right people into the room intentionally. A decade ago, we were only in the red for 3 months. And I remember those months vividly, because when you build something from the ground up, every dollar matters, every decision matters, but every person matters. And even then I knew I had something. Businesses and business leaders were excited for what I was creating. They wanted real insight and real perspective. They wanted to understand what their peers were thinking, and they wanted to know where the opportunity actually lived. They wanted more than the headlines. They wanted context, and they wanted to be in the room with the leaders that were shaping tomorrow, rooms like this. But this isn't just a business story, as most stories are not. It's also a life story. Even when the business was working, I struggled with self-doubt. And honestly, still some days, I feel like I'm the walking poster child for imposter syndrome. There was one day early on, I came back from a meeting, I parked my car, and I sat there frozen, and I started crying. And if I was honest, I was sobbing. I felt like a failure. And the irony was that I'd contract signed, people had paid, the business was working. I'm incredibly lucky to have my dad in my life, and I lovingly call him my CLO, my Chief Life Officer. He was the first person I called, and he was able to walk me off the ledge, unfreeze me, and get me back into the office. Midway through this journey, everything was tested in another way that I could have never imagined. In 2023, I had to move my life to Minneapolis so that my daughter could undergo a bone marrow transplant for an ultra-rare genetic disorder that she was diagnosed with. I was living in the hospital. I was watching chemotherapy ravage her perfect little body, all while working every single day. Because during that time, my lead salesperson, as well as the head of business development who oversaw my entire staff, quit. That moment tested everything: my resilience, my leadership, my belief in myself and what I had built. Now, 2.5 years later, my daughter is doing amazing. She is thriving in ways that I could have never imagined. Thank you. And while a few people walked away during that time, I had an ocean of people, both professionally and personally, who helped build me up. And I share this story because I believe that our business communities do not live in silos. We're not little human robots that turn on and off when the working day starts and stops. We are partners, we are parents, we are caregivers, we're believers, we're builders, we're humans, showing up professionally every single day. And what I've learned, and what Philly has always understood, is that strength comes from community. Pew's research shows that Philadelphians are more likely than any other large metro area to work with their neighbors, contact public officials, and actively try to improve their communities. That matters because trust and civic participation create the informal problem-solving capacity cities need to function well. Philadelphia also stands out in how it uses arts and culture as civic infrastructure. Research from the University of Pennsylvania and the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance shows that cultural participation here is strongly correlated with a higher rate of volunteerism and neighborhood participation. In places like West Philadelphia, arts organizations often function as neutral gathering spaces, strengthening local networks and bridging social divides. The city has also made smart, data-backed bets on density and interaction. Research tied to urban scaling theory and reflected in districts like University City and the 30th Street corridor shows that when institutions and talents cluster, interactions increase, knowledge moves faster, and economic output rises. Where the opportunity still lives is scale and connectivity. Our research shows that social capital here is uneven across neighborhoods. Strong community energy exists, but it doesn't always translate to metro-wide growth. So in short, Philly gets community right, but the next phase is connecting the community intentionally metro-wide. Today, CAA operates in 18 different markets in the Northeast, Southeast, and Midwest. In 2025 alone, we hosted hundreds of speakers across 50 different panels and welcomed over 3,000 attendees to events just like these. As we enter our second decade, CAA remains grounded in our newly released Pillars of Excellence. We power the connection economy. In an ever more virtual environment, bridging business together in person is essential. We are a learning organization. We stay committed to learning all about the markets that we cover, but we also stay committed to learning from within and have already incorporated technology and AI to make us better and smarter. We obsess over quality and credibility. There's no way that our international audience would return back year after year to read our reports or attend these events if we didn't. We think nationally and execute locally. We have the scope of 18 different markets nationally, and we're able to use that knowledge and expertise to hyper-focus on the markets that we cover. And we are better than we were yesterday. With 10 years behind us, I've never been more excited about the future, because whether you find yourself frozen in a car or, God forbid, faced with a health crisis, I see here in this room in Philadelphia a community that leans in. And if Philly has taught me anything, it's this: you don't quit, you don't flinch, you don't build alone. You dig in, you lock arms, and you move forward together. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for believing, and thank you for building the future together.